All right. 1.1b is fractions day 2. So we want to be able to add and subtract fractions with unlike denominators. So thinking back to 1.1a, we learned that in order to combine fractions, they need to have a common denominator or the same denominator. So consider in our warm-up 1/4 plus 3/4. Those have the same denominator. It's 4, which means we can combine them. 1/4 plus 3/4 would be 4/4, which is equal to 1. 7/8 minus 3/8. Well, if we, again, they have the same whole, which means they have that in common. So we can combine them. So we just need to think about what's 7 minus 3. Well, 7 minus 3 would be 4/8. And 4/8 can be simplified to 1/2, because 4 goes into 4 once and 4 goes into 8 twice. So when they have a common denominator, we can combine them. When they don't have a common denominator, we need to figure out what is the lowest common denominator. So for example, if we wanted to find the lowest common denominator between 4/5 and 1/3, how would we find it? Well, we need to think about 5 and 3 and what 5 and 3 both go into. So let's say 5 goes into 5, 5 goes into 10, 5 goes into 15 and 20, 3 goes into 3, 3 goes into 6, 9, 12, 15. Look at that, they both go into 15. That's our lowest common denominator. So we need to think about, what are we going to multiply? Ultimately, we multiply in order to create common denominators. So in order to get 5 to be 15, we're going to take 4/5 and multiply by 3/3. Well, 4 times 3 is 12, and 5 times 3 is 15. Now we want to do the same thing with 1/3. Well, 3 times 5 is 15, so 1/3 times 5/5. 1 times 5 is 5, 3 times 5 is 15. So what we've done is we found a common denominator, so now we have 12 15ths plus 5 15ths, and since those have a common denominator, we can combine them. 12 plus 5 is 17 15ths. We have an improper fraction as our answer. So let's practice a few more times. We want to start by finding the least common denominator by using multiples for each of these problems. So we have 8/11 minus 1/2. Well, 11 and 2 are not the same denominator, so we need to think about what could they go into. Well, 11 goes into 11, and it goes into 22. Okay, so let's think about this. 22 is even, so 2 must go into 22. So 22 is our lowest common denominator. All right? So our lowest common denominator actually comes from multiplying 11 and 2 together because they don't have any other factors in common. So we're going to take 8/11 and multiply it by 2/2. So 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 11 is 22. And then we're going to take 1/2 and multiply it by 11/11. 1 times 11 is 11. 2 times 11 is 22. So now we have 16/22 minus 11/22. So now that they have a common denominator, all we need to think about is what's 16 minus 11. Well, 16 minus 11 is 5. So 5/22 is our final answer. Let's try this again. So we have 2/7 plus 1/4. Well, 7 and 4 don't go into each other. So let's think about it. 7 goes into 7, 14, 21, and 28. Well, 4 goes into 28. Right? 28 is actually 7 times 4. So again, we find our denominator by taking 7 times 4 because they don't have any other, that's the smallest that they go into. So we're going to take 2/7 and multiply it by 4/4. So 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 7 is 28. And then we'll do the same thing with 1/4. Multiply it by 7/7. 1 times 7 is 7. 4 times 7 is 28. So now that they have our common denominator, all we need to think about is what's 8 plus 7. Well, 8 plus 7 is 15. So 15 over 28 is our answer. Go ahead and take a second and try the third one on your own. See if you can find the least common denominator. So we have 3/5 minus 1/3. Well, 5 and 3, let's think about what 5 and 3 both go into. 5 and 3 both go into 15. So I'm going to multiply 5 by 3. Well, 3 times 3 is 9. 5 times 3 is 15. And I'm going to multiply 1/3 by 5. 1 times 5 is 5. 3 times 5 is 15. So now that we have a common denominator of 15, we just need to think about 9 minus 5 would be 4. 9/15 minus 5/15 is 4/15. All right, we have 2 more examples we're going to look at. Again, it'd be a good idea to pause the video and see if you can figure these out for yourself. So looking at 6 over 9 minus 1/3. Well, 9 and 3, let's think about this. 9 and 3, 3 goes into 9, right? Because 3 goes into 3, 6, 9. So 9 is actually their lowest common denominator. Well, 6/9 already has a denominator of 9, so all we have to do is change our 1/3. So I'm going to take 1/3 and multiply it by 3/3. Okay, so again, we said 6/9 gets to stay. We don't need to change that. But 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So now we have 6/9 minus 3/9. Okay, so now that they have a common denominator, 6 minus 3 is 3. And that's our answer. We can actually simplify this because 3 goes into 9. 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 3 times. 3 goes into 9 3 times. So 1/3 would be our final answer. Then we have 3/15 plus 2/3. Well, again, let's think about 15 and 3. 3 goes into 15, right? 15 is divisible by 3. So 3/15 we can actually leave, and then we need to think about how to get that common denominator. So we could take 2/3 and multiply it by 5/5. Well, 2 times 5 is 10. 3 times 5 is 15. So now we have 3/15 plus 10/15. So now we have our common denominator, which means we can combine these. All right, so 3 plus 10 would be 13/15. There's our answer. So, fractions, again, big ideas. You need to have a common denominator before you can combine your fractions.